Welcome to another episode of Farm Like a Hero, folks. I'm Richard Perkins. Today we've got special guests, Claire and Gail from Gonne girls in Normandy in France, and they were actually the recipients of our IKEA Start Regenerative Agriculture funding that's granted 50 or loaned 50,000 euros to them for the startup of their business. And they started up March this year with a Ridgedale style eggmobile, no-dig market gardens, as well as planting a lot of trees in association with IKEA for an agroforestry system. And they are grazing their horses there at the property too. And all at the same time as relocating home to renovate an old farmhouse whilst raising kids, and a whole lot of things to talk about today. So thank you so much, you two, for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks.
Welcome.
So let's start with going back a bit. How did you both get involved in this, and how did you two formulate a plan to start a farm together?
You go.
So Gail and I both were living in Paris. I'm South African. Gail is Norman.
Yes.
And we're both kind of thinking about what was next in our lives. I had I was in the transition between two different jobs and had kind of reached the end of the internet. I was reading everything I could while I was waiting to change jobs, and landed up in the Keyline book about permaculture, and kind of fell in love and got to chapter 3, went for a drink with Gail and said, okay, I think I know what I want to do with my life. I'm going to do this. And they said, me too. And we were very drunk and probably shouldn't have made a decision after so many years, but we did. And the land is part of my husband's family's farm. They've never farmed it. It was always rented to one family, and the farmer died before the end of the lease. And it was 5-6 years ago, I think, that he died, and the farm just didn't sell. It's a beautiful piece of land, 3 kilometers away from the beach. All the stud farms around us wanted it, but for some reason it just kept falling through. And so I kind of said to my husband, I think the farm doesn't want to get sold. We might have to do something with it. And so we decided to sit down. We sat down every Monday night and started figuring out how to farm in France, which is not simple. Even if you have bought your land, you still have to apply for an authorization to exploit your land. And we didn't have the points to be able to do that. So it was 3 years of administrative hell to try and get to this point. And
can you just
which
clarify,
I think is...
What does that mean, to exploit, to actually utilize the land for production?
So France is very, very difficult to, and it's one of the things that I think we're both quite passionate about, is access to land. It's incredibly difficult to get access to farmland unless you have it in your family, which means that it stays in the privileged hands. We only got it because it could be passed. In fact, we don't own the land. It's my husband's brother bought the land, and we're renting it for 5 years until we can buy it without anyone preempting the sale. Because in France, to be able to buy a piece of land, there is an association called the SAFAR that can come in right up until the signature and can preempt the sale, set the price, and stop the sale from going through. And then once the sale has gone through, you still have to apply for this authorization to exploit it. And there is a ranking with points. And you don't have a choice as an owner. Either you don't rent it at all, or you take the person. Everyone else can apply. It's public. Everyone else can apply to exploit the land, and if there's someone else with more points, you can either give it to them, or you can't, or you don't rent it, but you can't choose.
That's a bizarre system.
It's very protectionist. It's very good in a way, because it's about food protection and stuff, but it doesn't, in reality, it stops people from getting access to land.
And that's also why we had to secure access to that land, or our ability to manage that land. We had to do a diploma for 1 year last year, an Agri diploma, the national French diploma for agriculture. So we went back to ag school, the one you said wasn't very useful.
Like A-level
we had to go through this for 1 year, and we had our exams in December last year. So it was it was a long process. We had the idea that drink was end of 2016, and then we moved July last year, and we started March this year. So it took a while.
Yeah. No one
so
really.
What is that diploma about? That's something that anyone would have to do if they wanted to come into farming in France without like a farming background?
Yeah.
And what did you get up to during that time? Like, what does that look like in reality?
A lot of hard work.
I think it was useful. It's very general. So you have accounting, how the social security works for farmers in France. What else did we do? Marketing. Very useful.
I mean, it's matric level stuff. I mean, A level stuff. So it's not very challenging, but there are 8 weeks of internship that are
that's good,
that you have to do mandatory. And so that gave us the time to go and visit the farms that we wanted to visit. And spend the time on it. And that was the most useful of the thing.
What farms did you go to? Like, what enterprises were you exposed to in that?
We
did 4 weeks of market garden and 4 weeks, 2 weeks in chickens, and then
2 weeks in cows and
2 weeks in cows and horses. Yeah, exactly. There was a mix. And then for the market garden, we went to Lille in the north of France with a couple who had worked for 2 years at the Bec-et-Loin, and they set up a farm there for Veolia, the large French company. So, urban farm, yeah. It
was interesting.
Yeah.
They'd spent a lot of time going back and forth to Canada to work to see JM as well. So it was a mix as well of that stuff. And they were in their second year.
Yeah.
So it was good for us to be with them as well. Very, very interesting couple. So those 4 weeks were great.
Yeah.
The eggs was a classic
egg producer.
Not in organic, in a free range, because it definitely, we saw that big thing economically on eggs here is that the price of the food is almost double what you guys are paying in the Nordics. So a lot of the people who start off wanting to do organic fed eggs rather do OMG.
GMO.
Now Gail knows the English and I know the French. It's great. And so it was quite interesting to see that economic reasoning in their heads as well.
Yeah.